Hello everyone. So here I have a 1996 40 horsepower Evinrude motor carburetor, and essentially my motor has been having an issue where when I get to top speed the engine just suddenly slows down and kind of tends to only go 2/3 of its maximum speed. So this is my first motor. I know absolutely nothing about motors, and I figured I'd start with cleaning out the carburetors. There's two of them. I just have one here for example, as I already cleaned them both out. This is actually incredibly easy to do. I can't believe anyone would ever pay anyone to clean out a carburetor, since I don't know, maybe on some other motors it's more difficult to take it out, but it literally took about 2 minutes to take this thing out. There's only a couple screws, so I've already opened this up, so I'm basically just showing what I did. And correct me if I'm wrong, as I said, this is the first time I pretty much have done anything on a motor. So over here you open, basically I guess I'll just call it the top compartment, which has the float. The float is basically what controls how much gas is being put in to your motor. So right here, from the videos that I've watched, everyone basically says that the float has to be exactly parallel to the top of the carburetor, or if anything just slightly down like this, just a slight bit. So this is actually what I did. I tried to kind of, instead of making it perfectly straight, I gave it a very tiny, so like a 1 or 2 degree slope going down this way. Essentially the way this works, let's take out this pin here. It's actually fairly simple. Basically there's one little pin that holds the float here, so you can kind of, it's pretty easy to get out. You just poke it with anything and then take it out. And right here you have a little needle which kind of controls how much, from my understanding, controls how much gas is actually going into the motor. So this right here, it's kind of like on a tiny little, I don't know if you can see, on a little spring type mechanism. You could just put it on, just like this. Then you want it to go into a little hole. And basically the way, when you clean this, essentially you want to either soak this in carb cleaner, or maybe I've heard even acetone. Essentially spray everything out here with carb cleaner. So make sure to get all the little orifices, take this gasket out. One thing I didn't realize, my motor had 2 carburetors and I only bought 1 carburetor rebuild kit, but thankfully these gaskets actually ended up being in pretty good, decent condition, and I didn't really need to replace the other one. So basically make sure you spray compressed air into every hole as well as carb cleaner, because actually the compressed air will dislodge some of the material in these places. But essentially spray carb cleaner everywhere into these holes, and then I'll take out the bottom in a second and show you. And put the float back in. You basically just make sure that this goes into there. You put it in, you just put the pin back in. Almost. And there it goes. And essentially, well, you put it back together, assuming I cleaned everything as I did. You once again want to check the flow. You want to make sure it's perfectly straight. You don't want anything like this or facing too far down. Essentially, at this point you can either put I would probably clean everything before putting it back together. I'm just going to close this temporarily just so it doesn't fall apart. So I'll just kind of put, screwdriver. Just give it a few turns so it's not falling apart on me here. The gasket's getting in the way a little bit. Alright. Alright, so now the bottom, this has more of the delicate pieces which you really want to spray out. It's also very easy to take out. There's just 4 of these bolts here. Press it down, or I close these fairly tight already. You also don't want to do this too tight, just the right amount of tightness. So you don't want to break anything or snap anything. Just kind of give it, you just basically use appropriate measure, because you don't want to crack the top of this plastic here or basically break any parts of this, since replacing the entire thing is actually semi-expensive and cleaning it out is very cheap. Alright, so here we have another gasket. You want to, of course, clean all this out, spray carb cleaner and compressed air through all of this. Make it as clean as you possibly can. There's the other gasket, and over here as well, this connects with the pin in the bottom part. So you want to literally soak and clean all of this as best you can. And actually I didn't show on the other side, but under this there's kind of like a metal washer. You can also, if your carb is very dirty, you can take that out. Apparently, I've never done it myself, but apparently you just stick something sharp, you know, say just something like this, and pry it open, and then that'll allow you to kind of clean, excuse me, the further chambers inside the carburetor. But since my carburetor actually didn't seem that dirty, I decided not to do this, and I just kind of sprayed everything. I soaked it. Basically, it seems pretty clean to me. So this is kind of a tutorial video. Essentially, if you want to clean out your boat carburetor, or at least just take a look at it, don't be afraid, because this seems very easy. Disconnecting this connecting pin was easy as well. I kind of try to not move anything, keep everything exactly the same. Here's the idle screws. Each carburetor has one of them. I reset them to the default positions, and I will calibrate the motor as I test it again. But yeah, basically just make sure you take this thing apart carefully. It's very simple. Clean everything out, and it's possible you may solve some of your issues, but if anything, you should at least do this every once in a while, since it's simply this easy to do.